want to do some, just the blues or something?
Yeah, I'll just do something. I'll just play the rhythm in a... There you have it.
I don't remember where we met. You have to refresh my memory.
When you were doing the Frehley's Comet rehearsals, the original Frehley's Comet rehearsals.
Okay.
I was coming down and hanging out with you guys. You met, my mom was your nurse at an oral surgeon's office.
Really?
Yeah, and you gave me laminates, and I came down and watched like almost all the Frehley's Comet rehearsals.
It's kind of coming back to me now.
Yeah, and then I went to your, like the first tour, I was going to almost all the shows in the tri-state area, and the last time I saw you was actually on the first reunion tour. I was in Tampa, and you were up on the platform, and at the end of the show, when you looked down, you're like, Chris. So you remembered me then.
All right, well, yeah, it's been a few years. What was that, 80?
Oh, that was, yeah, 86, I think, 87.
So that's 96, 27 years, 28 years.
The first record I ever bought was Kiss Alive, when I saved my own money, and Ace was the first, because I'd heard Ace play guitar before I'd heard Eddie Van Halen play guitar, so he was doing, like he said, he was doing that with the pick long before everybody came out doing the regular hammering with the... He was doing his thing with the pick. I just remember I was a Beatles fan, and my neighbors gave me Wings Over America, and I always liked the heavier music. So when he's laughing, when I heard Kiss Alive 1, I was so blown away by it was a band that was actually that heavy all the time.
It's the record that made Kiss. Yeah, you know, up until that point, we were still floundering.
Just was like, wow. This is this band.
You gotta love the Beatles, but you know, for me, when Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin hit the music scene, that was it for me. And the Who. I mean, the Beatles are great, and they have great harmony, and they write great, catchy songs. But you know, you listen to something by Hendrix or Led Zeppelin, it just took it to the next level. Exactly. And that's what Kiss did, you know, with our theatrics and everything else that we originated.
And it was heavy all the time.
You know, it's the evolution of rock and roll.
Yeah. And it was just so heavy and energetic, and the lights and sound, and it was something that really excited me towards going, okay, one day that's what I want to do, is I want to be like Ace Frehley, and that's it's kind of crazy. It was just, that was my influence. It was.
I get it all the time. I play guitar because of you, you know, but you know, I play guitar because of Hendrix and Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton, all those, you know. I went to see those guys when I was a teenager, and you know, I get it.
My first concert ever was Kiss at Nassau Coliseum.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. I went to see my doctor the other day, this new doctor, and he goes, "I was you for Halloween." I go, "You know how many times people have told me that?"
I was too, yeah. And I had a really bad, I had a bad pair of Ace boots that I actually had no way to make them, so I nailed 2 2x4s underneath my snow boots and put tinfoil around it. And by like 2.5 blocks, I was just on this like half a green shoe with some wood on it. I didn't have much money as a kid, so you had to do what you had to do.
Yeah, you know, in the early days of Kiss, I mean, my mom, you remember that shirt that Gene used to wear with the skull and crossbones? Yeah. My mom sewed that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and she also sewed the lightning bolts on my first leather shirt. You know, we made do with what we had until we got the big check from the record company, you know.
So what about when the guitar started smoking? Was that something you did? You rigged it funny at first, or?
That happened. You know, I came up. you know, a Les Paul, if you take off this plate, there's a cavity, and then there's a channel where the wires go, you know, to the pickups. So, you know, I'm thinking one day, I'm saying, what happens if I put a smoke bomb in here? There's nowhere else for the smoke to go but, you know, to come outside around the pickups. And that was working for a while. I was lighting them with a cigarette lighter, and I had the fuse coming out the back. You know, but after about, you know, 3 or 4 shows, you know, all the volume and tone controls got all gummed up from the smoke.
Did you ever burn yourself?
Yeah, well, I burnt myself, but, you know, once I realized it was something I wanted to do, you know, every night, we ended up, you know, I ended up routing out this part of the guitar, putting a metal box, and, you know, fake pickup with a light and the whole 9 yards, battery pack, and it worked flawlessly every night.
That's awesome.
You know, a lot of guys do it with their fingers. I do it with the guitar pick. And a lot of guys go, I do it with a guitar pick. This was the first Ace Frehley signature model, but this is one of the first 12, and if you notice the differences, the lightning bolts on these is mother of pearl. The lightning bolts on this is nickel silver. So these were like the first special 12 that I got, and I think they made about 100 or 500 of these.
They made 300 of the originals, and I had one of them. I had one of them stolen out of my house.
What's the serial number on this one?
This one was that one's a little bit later. My insurance company, because they said I do business out of my house, would only give me a certain amount of money, so I bought this one because it was significantly less than the 300s. I mean, because those are expensive guitars on the market right now. Yeah. So I got that one. And
yeah, they had a limited run, and then Gibson USA made some, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Typical. Well, that's the same thing with my Budokan that was released. When was it? Last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sitting with the president of the custom shop. And I'm saying, so how are they going to sell? He goes, they're already sold. Before anything was released, they were already sold. He goes, we already got them. We're already sold. They're shipping out. You know, I was back, and I bumped into Peter Frampton at the Gibson custom shop because you know, remember that triple pickup black Les Paul that he had?
I have a chance to buy that guitar
that got
now.
lost or something, and in a flight down in South America, and it was some guy found it, and he was going to meet with the guy. I mean, it was crazy, and he was there just by chance. You know, I hadn't seen Peter in years, but it was great seeing him.
I don't know if it's that one or another one, but there's a guitar, a 57 or 59 black Les Paul that Leslie West played that I have the opportunity to buy now, and I might. The guy wants like 30 grand for it.
A great guy. I've known Leslie for years. Yeah, I once went to his house. I gave him one of my graphic design paintings, and I've always admired his playing. It was simple, but you know, he had a great tremolo.
Oh yeah. You know? And he would always tell me, he's like, Chris, the sound comes out of your pick. He's always like, you can't just play like this. He says, you gotta play. That's what Leslie West would say. He's got that voice.
Paul and Gene never gave me credit for my solos. You know, neither of those guys have ever come up to me and said, wow, that was a great solo. Because they were too wrapped up in their own egos, but that's okay. The fans liked it. I just did a remake of the Steve Miller song, The Joker.
Oh, awesome.
And how do I make it my own? Well, like, you know, on the rhythm part, in between the verse and the chorus, I kind of almost did like a New York Groove kind of Bo Diddley riff. And I did a 3-part harmony instead of 2-part harmony. Obviously, I made the solo my own. I did an extended solo, and the first verse, I originally had drums, and I'm working in Pro Tools, and by accident, I erased the whole drum track. I mean, obviously, I had backups, but you know, sometimes things happen. You know, there are no mistakes. So I said, what would I do if there were no drums in the first verse? And I just overdubbed a hi-hat and put a delay on it, and it worked great. So awesome. I left no drums in the first verse, and then the drums come in on the chorus. That's how you make a song your own. You just, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's sometimes when you do things that people want to hear, things true to the original. All depends on what you're doing. And there's even times live when with it's Trans-Siberian Orchestra where we have the East and the West band that tours in the winter, and I'll do somebody's guitar solo from a record that's not mine, but I always like to throw in a little bit of myself into it, and it's that special extra slop on my end.
Yeah, people say to me, Ace, how'd you get your guitar style? I said, well, if you take Jimmy Page, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Pete Townsend, and you kind of, and the old blues players, and you put them all together, that's kind of how I started developing my style and my solos, Yeah. I stole a little from here, a little from there, but it ends up becoming my own.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I like to experiment with different tunings too. Like I said, this guitar is right now is tuned to a complete D minor. So if you're playing a song that's in D, you go to solo over it. That sound that comes out of that is totally unique. And I always, there was a singer, an old blues guy that was with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra named Daryl Pettiford, and it was actually taught by Richie Havens, and Richie told him some old blues secrets, and he had told him about tuning the guitar to a complete E major. Yeah, exactly.
Ozone.
Yeah.
There you go.
The secret's out.
Yeah, I don't use the wang bar, so I got to bend the neck with my body.
Did you ever break it?
Huh?
Have you ever cracked one doing that?
No.
No, me either.
No.
They said there's a breaking point.
For a while, I don't know if you remember, there was a point around during Frehley's Comet when I had like a Washburn wang bar on my Les Paul.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know what happened? I started relying on the wang bar, and my vibrato suffered.
Yeah, I loved your vibrato. Nobody else has Ace.
Can't get feedback?
These go to
Let's go feedback.
That's a new song. He just wrote that. And the singer comes up with that same exact melody you had in your head, and then they turn around, write the lyrics, and take 75% of the credit.
Because of all the pyrotechnics, if I would be on one part of the stage when I wasn't supposed to be there, a bomb would go off.